All right. Hello, everyone. On behalf of DO Cava, welcome to our 360 Degrees of Cava series. Thank you for your time, taking it out to be with us today. This is the third session of the series, and it focuses on the grape varieties of the DO. So before I turn it over to the panel, some housekeeping reminders for everyone. During the webinar, note that there are two communication methods available to participants. We've got the chat section and the Q&A section. So the chat section is an informal way for you to communicate with other participants. So just be sure to select everyone, all panelists and attendees in the to field, as it can default to panelists only. And then the Q&A section. So this is the important one, and where we would like you to submit your questions to be answered during the webinar. The session will be recorded, and we will also share the YouTube link to the recording with all of you following the webinar. We are very happy to welcome our host for the next two sessions, Martin Reyes, Master of Wine. First-generation American, Martin has held influential roles in many sectors of the wine industry. Wine director, importer, educator, international judge, award-winning winemaker, and writer. He was named one of Wine Enthusiast's top 40 under 40 tastemakers in 2015. And after working harvest at Solomon Undorf in 2016, he took over production for Sonoma-based Peter Paul Wines, a role he continues to this day. In 2018, Martin became the first Master of Wine of Mexican descent and founded Reyes Wine Group, LLC, a multidisciplinary wine consultancy with a growing specialization in climate change. That same year, he launched Reyes Selections, a small East Coast portfolio culled from his years as an international buyer. In 2020, Martin co-founded Wine Unify, an organization that increases and empowers the presence of underrepresented communities in wine through education, funding, and mentorship. So Martin will introduce today's panel. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to him.
Thank you, Katie. Tell me if you relate to this. One of the first things that I learned in basic wine education, WSET, CSW, wine education, so forth, grapes of Cava. I studied them, you memorize them, you pass a test, and then you move on. And we know they're important, right? But like many great indigenous varieties, we don't see them often outside their context of origin. And then we learned about the other six, right? Pinot Noir and Xarel·lo, Trepat and Garnacha. And we see, well, how do they all relate? And if these international grapes like Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are permitted, is the tidy summary that we thought we knew still important? Is it still relevant? Are the trio, Macabeo, Parellada, and Xarel·lo, still the essential to the idea of Cava? Or do we explore, or rather, how do we explore the wide palette of the 9 grape varieties that we've that have evolved over time to create the spirit, the dynamics, and yes, the luxury of Cava, from blends to monovarietals. And so, yes, this is in our third series of 4. The first 2 are co-moderated by Catherine Cole, coincidentally my co-host and founder of the 4 Top podcast. You guys should check that out. And now I'm joined today by our 2 esteemed guests. First, I'd like to welcome Joan Barrera Mariné from Agustí Torelló Mata. Joan has a degree in enology and viticulture at the University of Burgundy and a master's degree in marketing. And in 2014, he joined the team at Agustí Torelló Mata and is now the brand ambassador responsible for top flight professional tastings and the important dialogues with import and export markets throughout the world. Joan, welcome.
Welcome, and thank you very much to give us this excellent time with you and all these fantastic people. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And then we have Javier Domenech from Cavas Naveran. Javier is the commercial director and sommelier at Cavas Naveran. He held previous positions at Cavas Aymar, Valformosa, which we'll taste here shortly, and Catalan Vins Winery, with various degrees including Barcelona University, a master's degree and an MBA at prestigious schools in Europe, and today leads Cavas Naveran to new heights. Javier, welcome.
Hello, nice to talk to everybody. Hello from Barcelona.
Excellent. So I want to set the stage briefly and go over the contents of this session. We will take the journey of Cava production from soil to vine to vinification to maturation and examine these topics through the varietal lens. Then through that same lens, discussing the primary varieties and the relationship with Cava, we will consider commercial, cultural, and probably some philosophical questions about Cava as well. This is 360 degrees, so we take the entire view, not just production and not just the characteristics of the grapes, but from soil to bottle. I encourage questions, but I understand we will address them as throughout the logical progression of our journey through the chronology of Cava production. We'll address the questions. So this is how we learn together. Kitty, let's get started. Let's lay the groundwork for us. Okay, so we have our primary 3 grapes right now that are known and that are the closest thing to the DNA of the Cava appellation. The Macabeo is, of course, the most planted within the DO, and is known to have. Sorry, let me just maximize my screen here. Excuse me, and has large compact clusters, and is the one that, for the most part, tends to have. I would say, well, we probably have about 50 or so percent, maybe 30% of the grapes planted are Macabeo. One of the things that it also has is good aging capacity, but even before that, when we talk about viticulture, it also tends to, we would say, it tends to ripen, to bud late, so it avoids some of the spring frosts. So that's an important reason why it's so popular. Then we also have the Xarel·lo grape. It is, whereas Macabeo is not indigenous necessarily to the Penedès, the Xarel·lo is. It is medium-sized, loose clusters, and it brings a lot of structure. And people would say that the very pungent and powerful aromas, and it's primarily what is considered to be one of the defining aromatic characteristics that give Cava its distinctive style, on the nose especially. And then Parellada, first cultivated way back in the 14th century, very large, relatively large clusters and thick skin. I believe Catherine mentioned that it was less prone to oxidation, if I recall. I didn't know that. And it brings a note of refinement to the trio, to the blend. All right, let's move on to the next slide. There are 2 other white varieties. Look, there it is, Chardonnay. It always sneaks in, right? It's having a field day. It looks like it's Chardonnay. Every day is a Chardonnay, right? It's very versatile, and obviously we know that round and compact berries, very fine skins, and has been authorized in the production of Cava since '86. Still about, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 hectares overall. Hey, Elaine, I tried. I look at the typo and I try to roll with it, right? And then the next is Subirat Parent, which is known as also Malvasia, and is typically known for more of these sweeter versions of Cava. And let's see here, what else we got? Then we move on to the reds. Okay, so with the reds, we have the Garnacha, which is originated, at least thought to have originated within the Aragon region, not from France. So I guess what did the Aragon region say to the Southern Rhone? That's Garnacha grape, that's our grape. Maybe that works. And medium-sized and compact clusters, and of course, you relatively know Garnacha or Grenache, as we say in French, and then a Trepat, usually only known for its contribution to the rosé versions of Cava. And let's move on to the next bit, which is going to be the Pinot Noir, the youngest grape of the DO, authorized just about 20 years ago, and we'll taste one today. So well, we're not going to taste quite yet, but I wanted to give you the groundwork, because this is typically what we learn at the end of the day, is what we learn when it comes to the short version of the Cava appellation. So what we want to do now is I want to take that varietal lens to then rediscover the complexity, the full complexity of the Cava DO, And I'd like to start with you, Joan. With regards to the terroir and the topography, are there certain affinities for certain types of soils when it comes to the three main grapes, whether it's climate or vis-a-vis each particular variety, topography, and so forth?
Yeah, for example, only we are a very traditional company. We are working, we are only thinking to work with Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parellada. And for example, the Macabeo is, you have to be very carefully where we are planted to obtain the top quality. For example, it's very small grain, and all the grains are close to another one, and then it should be planted always very poor soils. And then why? Because when it's raining, maybe 100 liters square meter per year, maybe 200, 500, maybe 800. Almost doesn't matter. Should be grow only a little bit because the roots is very difficult to absorb all the waters from the soils, right? And then it's very important. If we plant this one, for example, in another place that is more fertile, the sand absorbs so much water, and then she absorbs so much fast water, begins to grow so fast, and then the grains begin to grow, and then they break one to another one, and we have really welcomed the Botrytis scenario. Means in two weeks it's totally destroyed. It's a catastrophe. To the reason we are thinking to plant absolutely in the very poor soils. This is one of the clues that always we select Macabeo for our best grape varieties.
Okay, and then that's fantastic. What about the Xarel·lo grape? And its
yeah, Xarel·lo grape, and then means Macabeo to the end. It's very easy to obtain and to elaborate the cavas to Asian cavas, 5 years, 6, 7, even monovarietal of Macabeo. So people say, "What's this? I can't believe it." I will show you later on at time, and then it's really fantastic. But for example, in the middle of Penedès, I will show you now. I have a panel. I will try to show you here a little bit. And then Xarel·lo is very rich in sugars. This means translate very good structure to obtain the Cava blended. It's Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parellada. And then we planted in very cold place close to the Montserrat Mountains. We have the best place to plant because these Montserrat Mountains stops the windy from the north, very cold, and then after this, you can plant the Parellada. Parellada gives us a fantastic aromas, very low, very good acidity, but much more than acidity, a good pH. And when we have decided for which one you have to blend Macabeo, the percentage every year, how many percentage Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parellada, and when you stay longer, for example, 8 years, 7 years, or it depends which one, we have to be careful to put much more, a little bit increase the percentage of Parellada against to the Xarel·lo, for example. No, these are three great varieties.
Excellent,
yeah.
Fantastic. And so Javier, there are other elements that come into perspective. You obviously have Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Are those grown or managed differently viticulturally than the autochthonous grapes we've discussed?
Well, in our case, we are in the middle. Our property, Finca Can Parellada, is in the middle of Penedès, and in our property, we plant Chardonnay and Pinot Noir really very well because these varieties in this area really grow with any problems. No, Chardonnay was in this area before 1998, I think, and we started to plant as bush vines, we can say, and today we are planting in the treading system. But the kind of soils is more or less the same soils that we have for other varieties as Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parellada. In our property, Finca Can Parellada, we have two different parts. Is the low part and the high part that other people will receive by mail, the map. And I can say that we are planting Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in our high part. We are talking that these vineyards are around 370 meters, 400 meters above the sea in order to see the levels. In this case, the soil is limestone, some calcareous, no? And both more or less we have Pinot Noir as well in the same terroir, we could say. I mean, it grows more or less in the same kind of soils.
Excellent. And so why did you, I know we'll touch on the cultural aspect a little bit in a minute, but why did you grow these international varieties, the influence that you get from it?
Well, I'm sure that we are going to talk about it just a little bit later, but what is important for us is that is a cultural item, no? But is the moment, maybe the right moment to just to speak about it, because the owner of the winery is he's 76 years old, and his father is from Switzerland, and his mother was from Catalonia, from Spain, and he has many influence from France. And when we talk about France, we talk about Burgundy, and we talk for sure about Champagne. And when he came back around 50 years ago, with this influence, he had some prospections here, analyzing the soils and so on. He understood that it could be a good moment for him, to introduce these varieties. For sure that we were very good with Macabeo, Xarel·lo, Parellada. The Cava that we are going to taste later is we work with these three different varieties, but as well with Chardonnay. Because in Navarone, what we want is just a little bit to be different from the other Cavas, no? But we believe in our, for sure, indigenous Cavas, but at the same time, we want to introduce something else that the consumers can enjoy.
Excellent. Now, Joan, back to you. Since what we're going to be tasting here soon, and what your winery is known for, you have the three grapes that they are an important part of the blend. When it comes to the harvesting conditions, I'm curious if sort of at what stage do the three come in, and what do you look for when the bins are coming in, and the order in which they show up, and then when you say, this is good, this is how it should be.
Of course. And then we have only 53 hectares of a vineyard, and we need maybe to elaborate the total of our quantity of cavas, yearly cavas. And then we need maybe a double, but we are working like a style, like French style, means we have a contract with different kind of viticles, and we can choose different places, different soils, totally different. The how do you say, the inclination of the terroir, more high, more less, and then it's much better, much rich for us, right? And then even like this, and we have much possibilities to do it. Means in Macabeo, Xarel·lo, Parellada, we can do it in this way.
So when you look at the harvest arrival, sometimes viene primero Macabeo, después Xarel·lo. What's the timing, and what do you look for in each of those?
The most that gets maturation much faster is Macabeo, and then Parellada, and then Macabeo, and then Xarel·lo, and then in Parellada. But normally, maybe around 30 years ago, for the climatic change, we begin to pick up beginning of September, in 30 years ago. But now it begins 25 of August. He gets around 2 weeks before to pick up the grapes. But we have how we get the contact of these people. It is really fantastic just to see it. And then maybe it's difficult to believe it. Always hand pick it. We don't use any machinery. Means you remember sometimes some companies said, yeah, we have a selection table, this is good, this is bad. The selection table, we elaborate it, we make it in the vineyard. Always becomes to our company, should be perfect. The first and the last grains of grape, Macabeo and Xarel·lo and Parellada, maybe it's difficult to understand, should be more how do you say, more rich or more greeny, it depends. More sweet, more green. The maturity is higher or less, but in perfect conditions. You cannot see even one grain of the great varieties, even one. It's difficult to understand, but it's right. It's fantastic. That there should be. It's fantastic. It's in perfect conditions. We elaborate it in how do you say, the quantity of cava you can pick up around 10 between 10 and 12 1,000 kilos per hectare, but we cut it sometimes at 6,000 or the 50% less. It depends. But the most important that becomes here in our winery in perfect conditions. Always we elaborate, we beneficate. All ecologicals means no pesticides, not insecticides, vegans, and then we don't use absolutely nothing, no pesticides, not insecticides at all. Totally healthy.
Excellent. And you bring up a great point about pesticides, herbicides, and so forth. And the condition of the grapes are such that there is the movement now. Actually, it just came out earlier this year, announcing the fact that the category of the Guarda Superior, the Bio Cava, will be 100% organic by 2025. Not possible in every region, but in the Penedes with that. So that's fantastic that that is an announcement as the whole DO is acting together to produce that.
Yes, the thing is, always we are using only no pesticides, not insecticides, and you're working with hormones, sexual hormones like against the Loesia botrana. Only with this, we don't have almost anything to spend, not just the money, means to try to conserve the environment in totally natural. You can see ants, you can see all kind of insects going around, means it's alive. You can feel alive. You can feel 100% respectful. This is very important to our mentality, to elaborate the wine, not only in the wines, and to keep safe the environment. This is one of our mentality.
Excellent. And we'll talk a little bit more in session 4 in November about the sustainability, but I just wanted to highlight that because that's a fantastic goal for 2025. And obviously the climate allows for that, at least to some degree, with the ways in which the Macabeo and the Parellada and Xarel·lo and the Pinot and the Chardonnay are grown with such attention and care and hand harvesting. It's fantastic. We're going to move on now to going into the vineyard, into the winery through the varietal lens. There, by the way, just to note, there's a question there about the Corpinat, and that fantastic, great question. However, that was, I believe, it was addressed in the regional in session, either in session 2 or 1. But that is a separate movement and a separate, completely separate. And there's positives and negatives around that, but we are focusing on the Cava DO, which is actually not part of that for now. If we get to the philosophical questions towards the end, we have time, we can address that. But I just want to make sure that that question was at least acknowledged. So we're going to move on to the lens. So, I would say we have that. You've provided fantastic characteristic, at least on the vine and viticulturally, and then the character of the grape of Macabeo, Xarel·lo, Parellada. We know Pinot Noir and Chardonnay to some degree, and they're important. What they contribute to the blend with fruit and structure, acids, and so forth. To a large degree, I think that's what a lot of students and a lot of people in the trade focus around around the character that's provided typically within the vinification, within the blending exercise. Is there a general consensus amongst producers that says, okay, Xarel·lo is structure, age-worthy acid, Macabeo is the leader of the pack, and so forth, and then Parellada provides floral aromatics? Is there a general consensus to that, or is it really that simple?
In my case, no, go ahead, Joan.
Go.
In my case, I would like to say that, in my opinion, because everyone has his own opinion, is general, no? Is that these varieties give everyone has his own personality, no? But I don't know, Joan, go ahead. I didn't want to. No, go, please.
No, I don't know. It's the three. Only we believe in 3 grape varieties because our grandfathers, I think they know much than us how we have to be planted in one place or another place, right? But I think we are so far very traditional in our mentality, how to elaborate, and then we consider that Macabeo that we have, Xarel·lo we have, and Parellada we have, I think it's enough. And then it's a traditional way, but means it's a modernist way, like my friend Xavier. It's that some of them they are modernist, but I think the thing is the most important is the final result. The final result, you have a fantastic product with the traditional varieties, fantastic, and then is modern varieties. I think is fantastic. But even in Corpinat, and then to our company, they knock our door to be in the Corpinat. But you said the Cava has been working a long time ago, 45 years ago, and then it's very pity to disappear. But we have to the respect. We pay the most, maybe the double of the total equality that means the market absorb. We pay more than double that they pay per kilo, and then we have all these conditions. And then why not? I don't know. Maybe we are talking about this. We are thinking. We sleep on it. And then we will see in the next future. But the conditions to have the top quality of Corpinat, I think, will be agree with me and Xavier the same.
For sure.
We are the year all in the same way.
Yeah,
we are in this quality way. Yeah.
Right. I think rising tides lift all boats.
Yeah.
Everybody is making each other better
Yeah.
about that. Going into going into the decisions of production. We're talking about malolactic malolactic conversion and oak affinity. I'd like to ask a little bit about that. And Xavier, can you tell me your own thoughts about the decisions with respect to the varieties that you work with, about how and when to choose things like ML, things like oak, and then Joan, I want you to talk about the oak Virgin after that, about your Macabeo varieties. After that.
Yeah. In our case, I want to explain just a little bit that we have talking about Cava, because Naveran produce around 80% of the production is Cava, and we have two different lines: the vintage range and the premium range. And when we vinify, for instance, we take separately the Macabeo, the Xarel·lo, the Parellada, and the Chardonnay. But this stays maybe 24 hours in one tank during start the fermentation, and after this we change to another tank. Okay, this is the normal way that we do it. And in our cavas, we don't make any malolactic fermentation. Okay, we produce some still wines. Naveran produce a Viognier, and for instance, we produce the Manuela Naveran. In this case, we make the malo. But talking about cavas that you asked before, we don't use it. Okay, and then when with some cavas, for instance, with our Perles Blancas, the coupage is really like a champagne, because we use Chardonnay and Pinot Noir as a Blanc de Noirs. In this case, we work, that Joan is going to explain as well with his products. We work with some special system. I mean that 60% is the Blanc de Noir, the Chardonnay young, but from the 40% the Chardonnay that we work, 20% is young, but the other 20% we ferment it and aging and make every movement in oak barrels. It's something really special, something really different. It could be, many people say when it tastes that, wow, this could be a champagne, but it's something that it could be, but is a very good cava. Okay, Joan, what do you think about?
Yes, good means everyone can choose the way how to control the alcoholic fermentations. For example, in our side, it's very funny. I think it's unique. And then we have 19 terroirs, totally individual terroirs. And then we selected one terroir to another terroir of Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parellada. And then we elaborated a long time ago a different kind of micro vinifications. And our result was we selected with our own terroir a special yeast. One is a Candida from a Xarel·lo, and from Parellada, another one is from Saccharomyces, the style of Saccharomyces cerevisiae, no Bayanos, cerevisiae. And then we have controlled this yeast, and then when it became the most and the trucks, small trucks of 4,000 kilos per small truck, And then when we begin to start alcoholic fermentation, we add our own yeast from a long time ago to give us the typicity exactly 100% of this terroir every year. We don't use with different kind of mixed or some juice to obtain the same quality every year. No, this is not our way to do. This we elaborate to totally natural with Macabeo Xarel·lo Emparellada, their own yeast to give the typology, how you call it? Typology?
Typicity or topology. Yeah.
Topology, yeah, topology, give the topology 100% authentic. This is our way to understand and to do it. Maybe it's a little bit difficult to do it, to understand it, but it's very funny. But if you can do it, you can obtain these Macabeos with the taste, with the green apple every year. We don't do anything. It's like tasting a green apple, fantastic. Emparellada with this very aromatic with topical, how do you say, tropical tastings like aromas, different kind of, how do you say, a little bit of peach, or inclusive the Xarel will give you the peach aromas or the pineapple aromas, and that's fantastic. But we don't use and you don't add absolutely anything. It's the typology of this fantastic yeast that we selected a long time ago.
Sure. Yeah. So I was thinking land and terroir typicity, of course. Everybody can correct me there.
Yeah, typicity.
So, yes, and you want to pull a little bit of an example we discussed earlier about, this is off camera, about the example from other classics with relation to the barrique, for instance, Rioja, right?
Yeah.
Discussing whether the fruit is in front of the wood and so forth. And back.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that point?
Yeah, this is funny because I had the opportunity a long time ago in 2003 until 2008 to work in a fantastic company in Rioja. And then it's a kind of two typologies in Rioja. They call it the Pinocchio nose. The Pinocchio nose is when you smell a little bit the wood, and then when you taste it, you appreciate the fruit. But the newest style in Rioja, that is a fantastic wine, whatever. And then when you smell the fruit, means the fruit before the wood. This is the new style. And then the old style, the typical style, a long time ago, they call it with a friendly way. Yeah, this not just a friendly way. It's we call it the Pinocchio nose because when you smell a little bit the woody. They are more traditional. This is a traditional way. But these companies, they begin to change the style. If they have a little bit Pinocchio nose, know it with a very friendly way to do it. But they elaborate a new style too. They have a two range of products. But really fantastic both styles.
Now, at the highest level of quality, when you do have a barrel maturation, and you then have longevity within the bottle, what are the essential for you, in your opinion? What are the essential characteristics? The essential grape varieties that you must have as a part of that blend for Agustitura La Mata?
Yeah, for us, how you know, and then you have elaborate Macabeo Xarel·lo Emparellada. And then it's a fantastic product, a fantastic things that it's the Star Michelin's restaurant, they are demanding to us. And then we have very good market there. It's very fantastic that I will show you two special things. Elaborated only with Macabeo, mono varietal of Macabeo, very old vines. I call it barrique. Oh, sorry. And then this happens. This is a barrique. This is a barrica, we call it. It's monovarietal of Macabeo, only one variety. We call it barrique. And then it's this product is elaborated with three terroirs, totally different terroirs. And then it's the must is fermented in oak wood, 500 liters, but not burnt with fire, because you want to obtain a white wine very with chocolates, with too much strong. We elaborate with how you say in French, chauffage en blanche. Just you burn a little bit with 100% degree centigrade, a little bit the wood. Two origins totally different, but French, 500 liters.
So when it comes to that bottle, I know we don't have it with us today, our tasting, but I'm just curious, with the the expression of the Macabeo monovarietal for that. Is that possible, do you think, for the other grape varieties to do a monovarietal of that quality?
Yeah, the people. I know that the people is working very good in Xarel·lo monovarietal, but in Parellada, it's we don't have so much powerful of rich. It's not so much rich in sugars, and then it's should be maybe you can get a weak Cava strong. But in Xarel·lo, I know some companies that works very good and it's fantastic monovarietal of Xarel·lo. So the reason for us, Macabeo and Xarel·lo, they are, I think, the biggest boss in the market for Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parellada. And Parellada a little bit farther for this. Then and Xarel·lo, Macabeo, and Xarel·lo, and then they are friends, and they are very equilibrated companies and very equilibrated grape varieties. Yeah.
We're going to get ready to taste here in just a couple of minutes, but I want to, Xavier, your thoughts, since you have to weave in the conversation, the international and other varieties. What are their advantages and disadvantages from your perspective in the winery, in blending, in vinification? Excuse me.
In vinification, in our case, is first of all is to in here talking about Cavas is to be different, no? Because a lot of people, many wineries works only with the indigenous varieties, no? And when we started, the owner Michel started, he thought that these two different varieties work really very good. But since maybe 15 years, many different wineries has started to work with Pinot Noir and Chardonnay as well, because they give to the Cavas, they use these two varieties in order for long aging Cavas as well, no? But you can use Chardonnay as a young Cava, if you talk about 12 months, more or less, but both varieties are very good for long aging Cavas, no? And I would like to say as well that as Joan told before, that we are producing a very good Cava only with 100% Xarel·lo. That in this case we have a very good structure, a very good acidity. Is a variety really very versatile. It gives a lot of body, a lot of structure, and very nice aromas. And with the final product, when you taste it, it's really great. Talking about these different Cavas, indigenous Cavas, sorry.
Excellent. Now, I know for those who are looking about the conversation of the other varieties like Monastrell and Trepat, Garnacha, those are, in terms of hectares, they're nominal. Monastrell, I believe, is 75 hectares, not really distinctive in terms, or not really impactful. Trepat for rosés, and then Garnacha also for rosés and blends. So we do want to acknowledge them, but we do want to say, for the most part, I would say that we would generally agree that versatility is great. However, we tend to see at the highest levels of expression, at least commercially speaking, the indigenous and then the international Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, that they bring the most to the table. I would say, and from the conversation listening to Xavier and Joan, that's your opinion as well. Would you say?
Joan, go ahead, please.
Yes, Xavier, it's your turn. Your turn.
No. That talking about these varieties, I mean, for us, I understand the question. This what is special for us, no? Pinot Noir. Are you asking me this really?
We wanted to make sure that we didn't dismiss the conversation and having the lesser varieties because we're not really tasting anything today that comprises them, but we also want to acknowledge that they do play a role as the total of 9 grapes that are permitted.
Okay, I understand. No, but in our case, I can explain just a little bit that there are the other varieties, but in our case, in Naveran, we only use for Cavas Pinot Noir. We work with Merlot, we work Merlot, we work Cabernet Sauvignon, but only for Cavas Pinot Noir. I know that different companies use Trepat or Garnacha. Garnacha is really not very companies because give a very wines with a lot of structure. I think that my opinion is today the public look for something more subtle, in this case. And Trepat, that it comes from the Conca Barberà, has the same, no problem, because it's not a problem, but produces big color, is really intense, is something that in our case in Navarra we don't look. And Monastrell as well, because it comes from here there is a few vineyards, but you know, everybody knows that come from the Jumilla. It's very good for still wines. For Cavas, not so many wineries use it because they prefer to use to work with maybe Pinot Noir or these Garnachas or Trepats.
In this case, yes. In this case, our company, we are working with a rosé, with a Trepat 100%. But it's special. It's a little bit difficult to work. But when it's already done, it's fantastic. The rosé with Trepat, but always give you a little bit. This is a typology from the grape. It's a rosé. It's 100%, but always give us a little bit of greeny taste always, because it's very difficult to get woody. All the large of the grape. Only it's a little bit greeny, and then it's very difficult to do it. So the reason when you elaborate a cava of Trepat, we have to try. It's not brut nature, means totally absent of sugar. You have to play a little bit with greeny, with a little bit of sugar to obtain the more equilibrated basic wine, and to make the second fermentation to the bottle, and to elaborate cava.
Excellent. Well, let's taste what's been put into practice with the grapes that we have now. Katie, if you wouldn't mind, Ella, to pop into the tech sheets, and there we have them. So the first one, and so I know there are some people who have these in their hand. That's fantastic. We especially love to hear from you as you go through the feedback. Tell us, Javier, first. We start with Navarra.
I'm going to explain just a little bit. I don't know.
Cheers.
I have a glass of Cava here, and only to talk just a little about the product. This is our Brut vintage. Is one of our #1 sales in the USA. That we work. I would like to say that we work with Ole Obrigado in New York. Yeah, and this Cava is produced with Macabeo, Xarel·lo, Parellada, and Chardonnay. Macabeo 25%, Xarel·lo normally is like this. Macabeo 25, Xarel·lo 35, Parellada 15. But as I told you before, we introduce in our case, in our vintage range, Chardonnay as well, at 25%. Talking about the production, I would like to say that harvesting, pressing, and fermentation are doing separately. We are doing it in stainless steel vats. And we produce usually we ferment the product or the wine ferments between 16 and 17 degrees. We make usually the coupage November, December, and after bottling, we put our bottles in our cellars around 2 years minimum. Yes, in this range we produce the Brut Vintage, and Brut Rosé. All three are now sold in United States. And talking about the appearance, is a very pale, brilliant yellow lines of bubbles rising to form a crown at the top of the glass. Talking about nose is a very pleasant product, and with first aroma, with white hints of fruits and some pear. And for sure, we could taste some white flower shades. Talking about the palate, this product is Brut. It has a 7 grams dosage. It's fully and creamy, well-balanced acidity, elegant, fruity, and with a long finish. Very agreeable aftertaste that it lingers in your mouth. Yeah. And we talk about pairing is because it's a young Cava. As I told you, we have different lines. This is young Cava. 2 years for us is a young Cava. Is very good as appetizer in order to introduce one meal, and it pair really with shellfish, with some fish, with some white meat. It's a very good product in order to pair with different kind of, for sushi, with sushi as well. It's going to be a very good product.
Excellent. We have some people there that recognize this, like Julia out in
yes, I have the product here as well.
Stuff there in DC, and Elaine looks like she really enjoyed it very much. There it is. Fantastic. Now, Joanna, we got to move a little bit faster here because we want to get to the philosophy questions. But I also, I'm just curious, how do I, this is an unusual shaped bottle. We can see this. Yes. Right. And not so much the packaging. Let's talk about the wine, and the packaging comes later in the questions. Maybe we can.
Yes. And then it's, I think it's, I don't know how to describe this product, but maybe in one word. Can you tell me one day? I've been looking for 2 days. Which one? Maybe I say it's a jewel. All is absolutely studied. Means it's a vintage 2011. Actually, it's 8 to 9 years ago. Always, how you say this, Macabeo, number 145. How you know you've been talking Parellada, the second one that helps to stay longer, avoiding the oxidation of the product, and then Xarel·lo 20%. And then it's Brut Nature, means even in the Brut Nature, nothing dosage, means for this kind of Cava, if you take this one and then you detected the minimum defect in the nose or in the taste, you get it in this place. In this case, I think it's it's 11 pours, but this is unusual Cava. For example, this Cava, and you have a bottle here around. Shape it. I don't know. You can see it. Maybe like check.
Yeah, podemos verlo. Sí, está bien.
Yeah, you can say it, and then you have to keep it. It's not possible to put it on the table, but you have to put it here, right? And then my boss said always, it's the unique bottle, and you're never gonna drink it warm, because you have to put it in the. If you have to serve one glass, you wanna put it afterwards in an ice cube. Otherwise, it's not possible to put like this one on the table, right? And then this the second fermentation into the bottle, crypta, this one, and then I put it a little bit here. The second fermentation into the bottle, and then this is make it by cork, like a top French champagne with a cork. And then when you open it, it's open it like a la volée. It's not. You don't have to frozen the neck to take off the, how do you say, the lees, you know. And then it's very the lees, and then it's very funny. It's very funny, the bottle, but it's a real history of this bottle. This is the first history. Was in 82 was the first bottle that Mr. Agustí Torriomata just make it for a friends, to make it just a joke. Means Saturday afternoon I make a few bottles for a friend to celebrate and to share. But finally said you have to do something special. A long time ago, it like an amphor. Means an amphor. This amphor is like a long time ago. The people that brings liquids like olive oil or wines in the different places of Mediterranean Sea, they bring like this, like an amphor. And then it's fantastic product. And then if you taste it, maybe I can open a bottle now or not.
Please, let's taste. I'm tasting it myself right now. It's fantastic, and I know a lot of comments here about the fact that it's been aged 96 months on lees. Yeah, and that's a great example of age worthiness. So we've got that.
Yeah, and this is 2011. But but I want. If you give me a little bit the opportunity, I don't know if you want to see the bottle over there. Sorry, because it's closed. I want to show you something. It's very funny.
Very good, Joan.
Every bottle, maybe you want to see it? You want to see it? Good?
We can see it, yes.
Means every bottle has a small information Every bottle has a small information that this information gives us the degorgement date. Every bottle means the degorgement date means the day, the month, and the year you degorge the product, the crypta, right?
Is the hour on there too, in the seconds and the minutes?
Yeah, and then this one is that only we elaborate 3,000 bottles, 775. The Gorchman date, the way it's 29 of 7, 2021, means just 2 months ago. And then I have just in the air, before to describe a little bit the product, and then to all the people that are listening us, I said, if you don't put, and then if you don't put the vintage in a cava, and you don't put the degorgement date, someone can tell me what you're drinking. And then it's very difficult to say this is exactly this or exactly that. This is the way. But when you taste this cava, and then it's I tasted a long time ago. I keep it over there, the bottle in fresh, and then it's you can see very thin bubbles, very thin bubbles. And when everyone is tasting, you have to wait 10 or 10 seconds, 12 seconds. And after this, it's beginning to salivate, excitating the saliva. And then she's knocking our head and said, man, give me something to eat. We call it a very gastronomical cava. This is our way to understand. And then in the nose, the aromas, I will open it only one. What's the moment I take? Sorry. I open one. I promise I will try to hurry to do it. Yes.
Good job, Joan. Good job.
Yeah.
While he's opening, we will have the third wine, which is the Brut Rosé Valformosa, which we will cover at the very end. Then we'll jump into the last few questions that we've got.
Special glass and a special opportunity to do it together. When I put it like this, you can see it much better. Yeah. And also just to put a little bit, and then if I don't have ice cube, I have a problem. I have to put fast in the ice cube because it's not standing on the table. This is sorry. This is how you see the color. It's not so much. It's very pale color. This means it's 2011. Means you can keep in the bottle much longer, 4, 5, 6 years more. Even the bubbles are very thin. You can stay in the glass like this. You don't have to really move the glass. Only you put close to your nose and you can feel it. The aromas, the different kind of aromas. Aromas of croissant. It's a very complexity. It's very complex. Yeah. It's a taste of crianzas. It's a stay longer. It's very the third complex aromas.
Autólisis, no, Joan?
Yes.
Autólisis.
Yeah. Yes, and even
a long time on that, 96 months, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
imagine that it's funny that when it is making the second fermentation into the bottle, this makes easy that the lees is, you can see it almost in our eyes. Is running, is blowing a little bit it's automatic, like automatic batonnage. You can make it inside to the bottle, and then it's make it unique. This one,
we want to encourage everyone who is looking at their clock to stay a little longer because there's some fascinating questions and topics that we're going to cover. I think we're going to break through the 10 minute mark here, but we also have the rosé, which is available there, 100% Pinot Noir. And I'll just briefly mention that this is 100% family owned, and actually on the highest 500 meters above sea level in the Zona Más de 500. It's a very unique biodiversity in the Penedes, and they have a few different spots here and different Spanish estilos, Penedes, Cava, Catalina Rioja, excuse me. For more information on the Valformosa, 100% Pinot Noir, Brut Rosé, make your way to, we can actually set that in the chat where this is, and think about how you compare this version of what is a Pinot Noir rosé relative route to what you might know out there, right? The Cremant de Bourgogne or Cremant d'Alsace or even the Blanc de Noir from Champagne. And a wonderful, I think, exploration of not just the typicity of the Pinot Noir in where it and how it provides itself, how it lends itself to a sparkling and rosé, but also what does the Cava accent, the soil, climate, topography, and vinification style, and the native yeast and the microbiota that exists around the wineries, and how that produces this, the flavors and the character that give you this one here. So let's move on to. By the way, I encourage everyone to keep drinking their cavas. I just broke my keto thing. I had my bulletproof coffee, and now I'm burning the calories because I can't turn this down. And I want to move on to commercial and philosophical questions about the future of Cava, again through the lens of what we're tasting, through the lens of Macabeo, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Xarel·lo, and so forth. And really, I want to ask this general open-ended question, and please jump in here, panelists too, and audience members. How does the conversation around the varietal traditions help the learning about Cava DO itself? Xavier or Joan, do you have any questions?
Xavier.
Comments on that?
Yeah, Xavier. Yeah.
How can you repeat, please?
Well, actually, I had that question for Joan, but
Yes.
I have your question now, Xavier.
Yeah.
And so I'll ask you if you want. The question I have for you is in relation to past and present traditions. What is the future of the varietal composition of Cava?
Okay. Thank you for. No, my opinion is that the situation talking about short term will not change. It's going to be, I think, the companies as Naveran, we will try to do the same way that we are doing. I mean, to work with Macabeo, Xarel·lo Parellada, and some Chardonnay for this kind of young cavas, more or less. And for sure, talking about the Perler range, the premium one range, we are going to try to improve our Pinots, our Chardonnay. If you think about midterm, maybe I will change my opinion. Why? Because everybody knows that it comes here, the climate change. And if we talk about climate change here in Penedès, we are starting to see what's happened with some problems. There is some dryness. We start harvesting before. In this year, we started with our Pinot Noir in more or less August the 10th. I mean that in 5 years or 6 years or 10 years, something is going to change. I think that some wineries or some properties as Naveran, because we work with our autochthonous indigenous varieties, we don't buy any grapes. Our grapes are organics. We are working organic since 16 years, and we are vegan as well. And we are starting to be vegan as well since last harvest. And maybe in 10 years, it's gonna change something. Maybe we should look for buying maybe other part of vineyards in higher mountains, because as here in the medium Penedès, that is where Naveran is located, maybe it's gonna be too much drier, in a drier situation. I mean that first of all, in making a summary, I would like to say that maybe in 10 years, everybody should irrigate more the vineyards and look for vineyards in the more high altitude.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about Joan?
Yes, I think it's my point of view. My point of view is we will not change to introduce another grape variety. We will follow the Macabeo, Xarel·lo, and Parellada. but how people knows, and then it's the climate is changing. But we only elaborate. We don't buy even. We buy only grapes. We don't buy even 1 liter, only liter of wine or mash to elaborate in our winery. This is because we don't control what is growing, how's the evolution of this on the vineyard, and then is this out of our mentality. But in this way, how I've been talking, and then we select very good in the different kind of viticultures. And then these viticultures, maybe if we buy a little bit more Xarel in one place, and then we have a difficulty for acidity, we look for a highest places, or maybe more parellada. We are playing a little bit with these 3 indigenous grape varieties, that is Macabeo, Xarel, Parellada, and then moving in the place that you can move. But I think we are still following this mentality to be a traditional company with Macabeo, Xarel, Parellada. But maybe we look for another viticulture that have higher Xarel in one place, and then and then this is a good agreement. Looking for this, but to change or to plant in another places, and then I think it's not a way to do it.
Yeah. So as I think about this, as we wind down the conversation, I realize that you Joan, you mentioned earlier when we spoke about your grandparents' perspectives and why they did it their way. Don Mata is 86 years old, and if something isn't broke, don't fix it. And at the same time, there's that tension. I think that tension exists between the traditional and modern in other classic regions, in Barolo, right, and in Bordeaux, in French accent, Bordeaux, and in Rioja, and even Germany with levels of sweetness and finish. And I think that is probably something that, when it comes to Cava, and you have this strong indigenous tradition, right? Macabeo is planted everywhere else. You elaborated on that earlier, and then you have Xarel and Parellada, the true autochthonous grapes. Then you have this versatility, right? To a large degree, you have choice, and that choice is what makes Cava and the conversations we've had today so vibrant, right? And perhaps the strength of Cava is its dynamic nature. You hearken back to the diversity of some of the classics that we've alluded to, and to celebrating that as opposed to putting the region in a box, right? And so maybe we need, less wine in a box and more wine from inspired horizons, I would say, right? And to that degree, I wanted to close out the conversation here about, again, looking at this from the lens of the varieties. Any last thoughts, Joan or Javier, before we close out the evening, or in your case, your evening, my morning, and we move on to the rest of our Cava-filled day? Final thoughts from both of you.
Gentle Xavier, friend.
Thank you very much, Joan. In order to close, I would like to say that here at Minimum in Naveran, we want to remain doing the same kind of job, looking always for the best quality that we can produce in our vineyards, taking care of the organic items, taking care of our vineyards, controlling every process, trying to do our best fermentation, improving every day just a little bit more the process, look for our real target in the future. But the most important thing at the moment, we want to remain doing the same, working with the same varieties. For sure, always the autochthonous, the indigenous, this Macabeo, fantastic Macabeo, Xarel and Parellada. But in our case, because we are growing our sales and people say please keep doing the same as you are doing, because you are doing very good job. And the figures say this is our mentality, is our target to do our best job. For sure, in the United States, we are increasing very good our numbers, our figures there. And this is the best way. If the numbers say this, why you have to do another thing? You have to keep doing the same. When something works, don't change it. You have to think what is going to happen maybe in the future. but the people, the customers, our importers, our distributors in the space say, please don't move to another side because you are doing very good job with your own grape, your organic grapes, with fantastic cavas. Is the best way that we have to do. I mean, this is my mentality, and for sure, Michel Gilleron will keep doing the same, trying to do our best.
Gracias, Xavier. And Joan, I'm going to ask you the same question, but just a minute. Can you do it in a minute?
Yeah, okay, in a minute, yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Tell me the question exactly.
Oh, just final thoughts from you with our head to the future within variety.
I think I agree with my friend Xavier, and then we are a very traditional company, Macabeo Xarel·lo Parellada, indigenous grape varieties. We select with the yeast and organic cavas, no pesticides, not insecticides, but most of them is my grandmother and my father say, if something is working, care about it, don't touch it. And then this is a traditional way to do it. And then in the vineyards owners, always they are very traditional. You go to the Burgundy, you go to the Bordeaux or whatever. And here our style is not good volumes of quantity of cavas, but we try to make the top, the top way of cava of segment and these things. And then just two last things, sorry. I ask to all people that is sharing this conversation, just I show it to have an information. I will send to you information and you can send to them. This is, can you see the vintage of cava? For example, this one could be another one. You could 16, see the vintage? 16. You can see the back label, the engorgement date, the big and this. And then my question is for them. They don't have to, they have to ask themselves and then say, if you drink a cava is not in front, there is not noted a vintage, and in the back label is not noted the engorgement date, the question is what they are drinking. And then you think, and Xavier can do it because it's a fantastic cava. They can do it for sure, 100%.
Thank you, Joan.
This is one question. Another question is, I feel so much proud, very well, high respected with this fantastic Katie and Martin. And then I will tell you, not only you and Katie, that you are the kings and queen, but the rest of the people should be really welcome to our company, whatever, by bloggers, really welcome in Penedès region, especially in Sant Sadurní, and especially in Agustí, Torelló, and Mata. Please check our website. That should be main information of this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And
the same in Naveran for sure. Welcome to everybody in Naveran.
Thank you. So producers who have sent their wines out to various people, panelists, gracias Naveran, gracias Valformosa, que nos dio un grande, lindo vino Pinot Noir de Brut Rosé. Gracias, of course, at Mata with the Cripta Agustí Torelló Mata. Fantastic. And Katie, we're going to go back to you and wrap this up. And thanks Jordan, thanks Chin, thanks Julie, thank everybody who's here. Katie, wind us down. And the next session in November, sustainability.
Good. Fantastic.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Joan, Xavier. A big thanks to our panel.
Thank you very much.
We know time was short and there is so much to Cava. You're going to...
You like that? There's so much to Cava? Yes.
Thank you, Martin, with topics like these. And to you, our attendees, as a reminder, a link to the video recording will be sent out shortly in a follow-up email. So we hope you will join us next month on November 17th for our final session of the year, hosted again by Martin, Trading Up Sustainably. So we'll send out a link to register in the follow-up email.
Excellent.
Right,
everyone have a wonderful Wednesday. See you next time.